Now this might seem out of character for me because I'm not usually one to complain, of course, but I can't figure out this fucking camera here. As I mentioned, cowardly briefly in the previous episode, I'm using a different camera and I can't figure out these fucking settings here. Like sometimes it'll look fine, sometimes the frame rate will be correct, but then it'll look super fucking grainy. It looks super fucking grainy, so I play with all the settings, nothing works on that, so it's like, okay, maybe I don't have enough lights here. So I set up 50 fucking lights. If there were any more, I'd be blinded like the fucking Weeknd. So I don't know how to fix it. So deal with the slightly grainy footage for the wide shot. I promise it'll go away, just stick with me here. Shut up! Anyways, you saw the title. Today we're going to be talking about this 100 Games Boredom Buster box featuring chess, checkers, solitaire, Parcheesi, tic-tac-toe. Not really a board game, but I guess we'll get back to that. And Link 4. You guys remember Link 4, right? It's a classic. I picked this up for $5 from Five Below, and you might have seen videos on an ostensibly similar topic on video games like the Action 52, where they're like, oh wow, I assumed in completely good faith that this was going to be a great deal. I knew that this was going to be a scam. Like 5 cents per game. There's got to be something up with it, right? So me going into this, I'm really not going into this in good faith, mainly due to my common sense and basic deductive skills. It'd be extremely, extremely unlikely that they'd be able to pack 100 worthwhile games into this box. But I bought it because I'm trying to see what the scam actually is. Usually in these like knockoff 1 more billion and 1 combo cartridges or whatever you see for knockoff video games, they start repeating the video games after like entry 30 or 40 or something, but like you can't really do that for a board game. 100 Games Boredom Buster box. This box should contain the elements to play 100 games. Let's see about that. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go over every single fucking game in here because, there's 100 of them. So I took a little flip through the pamphlet, highlighted a few things, and kind of want to discuss them and see what you guys think of it. So, this isn't exactly a blind reaction, but just me laying everything out here. Inside the box, we have checkers, 5 dice, some nondescript generic pawns, and these. On the front of the box, it advertises 93 versatile playing pieces, right? And it looks like about half of them are on these rectangular prisms. They call them matchsticks. I guess they kind of look like matchsticks, but what person's going to identify them as matchsticks? Inside the box, it also comes with 5 double-sided boards. We have a checkerboard, we have a Chutes and Ladders looking game, we have solitaire, we have this one, you recognize this, right? We have a racetrack, tic-tac-toe, a target, a racetrack, a game board to Nine Men's Morris. And, oh god, it looks like I should censor that. I'm just kidding. I know it was like that before. Yeah, people pointed it out that I missed it in the previous episode. Don't worry, I'm not lacking. Something I do want to state is kind of ironic is that even this completely shitty board game still decided to include the full equipment to play a game of Ludo. You may know it as Sorry, when the official Sorry version decided to skimp out on that for a couple years. Now I'm going to go through each of these games to try and express to you what the scam is here, right? Obviously, chess is going to be one. Where there's a checkerboard, you gotta have chess. This is what they do for chess, right? It comes with all these checkers, but if you look carefully, these checkers have the symbol for a pawn on it, or for a king, which is extremely hard to make out. And you're expected to use these as chess pieces. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start with the very first game listed, checkers. Why am I talking about checkers? Well, it's because they just couldn't help themselves but fuck it up right out the gate on the very first game. Do you see the problem here? It's very subtle. I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. It's not like you guys are the ones that are designing a product to go out into the world for people to use, right? The checkerboard is inverted because they've laid out the labels for the chessboard wrong, right? You notice this bottom left square is dark, and then here the bottom left square is light. And it's odd because it even says in the instructions here, make sure that the square in the left-hand corner closest to you is black, which means you have to turn the board like this. So yes, that also means that these labels here, which are supposed to correspond to chess positions, are inaccurate. This is not A8. This is A8. I'm going to illustrate this with an extremely cheap, bottom-of-the-barrel chess set that you can get for like $1 from the Dollar Tree. As you probably know in chess, the queen goes on her own color and the king stands right beside her. When you orient the board differently like this, their positions swap. So essentially, white is playing black and black is playing white. And also, just another thing that they just had to fuck up for no reason. Who is black and who is white? Neither the squares on the board are black or white, neither are the colored playing pieces. Now obviously purple is darker than this mange, sickly flesh tone they've got going on here, but neither of these colors really scream black or white to me. Now, flaw number 2. If you notice, for checkers, they have a little setup picture. Because obviously you need a setup picture for a game as complicated as checkers, but chess, you just don't get one. No image to illustrate where the pieces go, and it might be handy because they printed the damn board wrong. And it's weird because they were aware of this, at least in the instructions. Make sure it is placed so that a white square is always at the right hand of each player. Now obviously it's just Chinese, poorly translated, copy-paste, garbage. Clearly, whoever wrote these instructions did not have this product in mind. It's like those live-action Disney remakes where they credit one person as writing the movie when there are weird character inconsistencies that just would not happen if it was one person writing it, because one person writing it would realize, oh, this doesn't make any fucking sense to the thing I wrote previously. So it was actually written by, a committee of 35 members of the advertising board in China. And also, the instructions aren't even accurate. Checkmate. This means the king has been captured. The king does not get captured in chess. Checkmate means that the king can't make a move to avoid check. Because the object of the game is the capture of the opponent's king, the game is lost if none of the above 3 moves can be made. The check then turns into a checkmate. How to win to achieve checkmate. Alright, awesome. Obvious flaw with them cheaping out and just molding the pieces into the checkers. It's extremely hard to tell what you're even looking at here. This would be a horrible experience for children. And it sucks because oftentimes scams like these are bought because, like a children's hospital doesn't have the space for this, right? They want something that's versatile for kids to play. Some nurse or teacher or parent might see this and be like, I don't know if it's going to have 100 games in it, but they might reason that there's got to be like some variety, some versatility in that where they might want to play chess or checkers or parcheesi, la 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 la. But hey, believe me, dear viewer, you were just not even aware of the shit fest you're about to witness. The next game that they include is Par, which apparently is a minimum of 6 players. Even though on the box it says 2 to 6 players. 6 plus means that the minimum is 6. And here's how you play Par. Grab 5 dice and the chips. You might know them as the checkers or chess pieces. And this is how you play this exhilarating game. Each player will have 2 chances to roll 5 dice to achieve 24 or more. If a player achieve a higher number than 24, the rest of the players would have to pay the difference. Now here's the thing, it doesn't clarify what it means by 2 chances to roll 5 dice to achieve 24 or more. So Right here, I have a 17. Do I get to hold these because these are high scoring and roll again? Or is it literally just roll again? Not to mention, the game doesn't say how many chips you have to start out with. It just says grab 5 dice and chips. I don't even know if they're talking about these. They could be talking about fucking Tostitos for all I know. But even though they get over-descriptive with how you pay out other players, it doesn't say, you know, what you get if you roll 24, if you just pay nothing and get nothing, or if you win chips from that or something. It doesn't explain any of that. Now we're going to talk Roadrunner. I'm just going to read the instructions here. Now, object of the game. Be the first player to take 3 laps around the game track. At the start of the game, players place their pawn over the start point. Alright, each player gets a pawn. That's determined by logic, sure. Players take turns throwing until they get a 6 in order to move their pawn after throwing the dice once again. Players must follow instructions on each place they land. Game continues until a player completes 3 full laps on the Roadrunner track. The first player to successfully complete 3 laps on the Roadrunner track wins. Now, did you notice something? In Par, they took the time to tell you, hey, you needed dice and chips, right? Here, they don't tell you what board you need. They don't tell you how many dice you need. You could play with 5 fucking dice for all we care. Try rolling a 6 with that. And the purpose isn't to be ambiguous to stoke imagination, it's just idiocy, laziness. And that's a problem for every game in here. Extremely rarely do they actually specify which board you need to be using. And sometimes even my Megamind genius brain just can't figure out what board they actually want you to use. Like Game of Goose. Object of the game. Be the first player to make it to the end of the board. Gotta be this one, because it's the only board with a beginning and an end. Getting prepared. The Game of Goose is the perfect game for any age. Can be played with 2 or more players. Well, thanks for the fucking backstory, but I wasn't looking for plot. I was looking for what I need to get prepared. Each player grabs a pawn and place it on the starting line. And, you know, obviously, just from this, you can tell what this is supposed to be. So what makes this different from this? Absolutely nothing. Just the literal shape of the track. It even looks exactly identical. And here we got Link 4. Now what they're trying to do is connect 4, but the rules are kind of vague. Each player grabs 16 chips of the same color. Well, I'm surprised that they actually specified, but that's because this only comes with 16 chips of each color. I'm not a math guy, but 16 plus 16 is 32. And I think 7 times 7 is slightly more than 32. I guess they missed that part in Connect 4 where they give you enough checkers to actually fill up the game board. Taking turns, place your chips trying to link 4 in a row. This can be done horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. Each player must only place 1 chip at the time starting at any bottom edge of the board or building up. See diagram. Now, it's kind of ambiguous because I know what they're trying to say. They're trying to say that you must start from the bottom and build up like in Connect 4, but any edge is the bottom line here, so you could just kind of creep out from any which way like this, and you would be within the bylaws of the game if somehow you didn't know that this was trying to rip off Connect 4. And the board being symmetrical, unlike Connect 4, doesn't really help that either. And I want to clarify before I read this next disgusting entry in this pamphlet here, that this is game number 12. Dice 100. Get to 100 points before the other players. And how do you play Dice 100? Well, you grab the dice, you roll it, there's your total there, and now it's your opponent's turn. Grab the dice, roll it, and that's your total there, right? It is, you know, essentially the same thing as Goose or any of the other get to the end before the other guy's games, except there's no pawns. It's just a number, right? And if that wasn't offensive enough, there are so many games in here where the object is to just get to a point total. We got score 21 or closest among all the other players. So basically, kind of like blackjack, right? We got 6. That's already pretty much the same exact thing as Dice 100, right? But not only do they have a game called 21, where you're trying to roll as close to 21 without rolling over, they have another game just the next page over called 36. Roll the die to get to 36 or closest without going over. The only difference is you use one die. Wouldn't it have been a good idea to include a deck of cards in here? It couldn't have been that expensive, right? There are so many casino card games you could have included here that didn't make you look absolutely retarded, and it really just goes to show how shameless they are publishing this. It's humiliating on Five Below's part. Now here's an odd inclusion, Yacht, which you may know is the generic version of Yahtzee, or, you know, to the cultured is now called Yowza. The only difference being the name Yowza and Dollar Tree sneakily adding this red sticker over the price to charge more than they did a month ago. Yeah, I'm sure no one would notice, guys. You nearly had me fooled. But what's most hilarious of all is that even in these complete shitfests of games here, they include a score sheet, right? There's no score sheet to play Yacht or Yahtzee with. They couldn't do that, but apparently they had the resources to print their next game listed, Tic-Tac-Toe. You just use the checkers to indicate your position. What are you talking about here? Tic-Tac-Toe, or X's and O's, is a game for two players, X and O. Who's X and who's O? We got red and cyan. Just arbitrate that yourselves, I guess, right? We got another one called Heaven and Nice. Heaven and Nice? Now that's a tough decision. It's kind of like, I guess, Dice Baccarat. You're trying to roll higher than the banker. Comes with a little, like, gay scoring payout thing here so you can earn your chips, but like, who cares? But that's not even the worst of it, right? Check out this game, Cho-Han. Guess correctly if the roll will be a Cho, even number, or Han, odd number. You could have put in an actual Chinese dice game that people play and know the rules to and would be generically understood in something as generic as this, right? What this game is the win or lose game. You might as well have just put two cards in the box that you draw, win or lose. Who knows? You roll a die and bet if it's even or odd. If it's not odd, I'll kill myself! So that Tic-Tac-Toe game is the last time we'll be using these boards. There were a couple I didn't mention because the rules are pretty generically understood. So the rest of the games are contained within this pouch here. Or are they? So we got baseball, where you're trying to score home runs by earning a certain total, right? Then we got basketball, where you're trying to score the highest total of runs by scoring over a specific total. And then we got one die baseball, score the most after 9 turns. And then we got two dice baseball, where you score the most after 9 turns, but with 2 dice. And then we got 3 dice baseball. Score the most after 9 turns. Grab 3 die. 3 die. You should fucking 3 die. Multiplication. Get the highest score on 3 throws. 3 throws she shows the scammy game. Poker dice. Get the highest hand. Is that not Yacht? Is Yahtzee not poker dice in itself? And by the way, I want to point out, poker dice are a thing already. Yahtzee is just poker dice, but with standard D6s. Players will take turns to roll 5 dice to get their hands. Each roll will have a hand value. See the points. Single rolls will have the value rolled. Doubles will count as pairs. Triple counts as trios. 4 of a kind will count as a full house. Why? You can already do a full house in dice, and that actually is commonly understood to be a full house. What does making this equal to a full house even mean? Equals a full house. What does that mean for points? There's no correlation between what a full house counts for points. And naturally, 5 of a kind will be a poker. So we got poker dice, and then we got Indian dice. This game is similar to poker dice, but straights do not count. You didn't fucking mention straights in the poker dice game! CeeLo. This game is easy and quick to play. Fuck off. Before every round, place your bets. One player will roll 5 dice, but the only number that counts will be the highest single roll. Example, player 1 rolls 1, 3, 6, 6, and 5. This player highest roll will be a 5, since the 6 repeats does not count. If there is a tie, then you go to sudden dead, where both players will roll 3 dice instead of 5, and will try to get the lowest number. It's kind of like Farkle, I guess, but with 5 dice. And that's the last game listed. This might seem kind of brief for supposedly 100 games. That's because the last 100 games are held on this single page. How could that be? Well, that's because to fill out the remaining 55 games, that was only 45 games that I encapsulated, they give you this dog shit. The Matchstick Puzzle Games. That's what the matchsticks, which heretofore have not been used, are used for. The Matchstick Puzzle Games. This is the physical equivalent of in those retro 1,000,000,001 game consoles that after game number 30 just give you Sumario 57 times. Move one matchstick to turn the donkey around. Now you guys might think I'm rather clever for that. Or maybe not, because it's not that hard. But I didn't actually have to think about that, because they made the answers inescapable. They put the answer as a spoiler right in the same diagram. They could have put it here instead of the advertisement for the fucking thing you already own. And it's just more little matchstick puzzles. Puzzles are not games. Let's define what a game is, right? This is a Magic 8 Ball. This is a toy. There's no goal to it. There's no objective, right? This is a Rubik's Cube. There is a goal and an objective, but there's no competition to be had either with yourself or with other people. This is a single player thing that you're trying to solve yourself. And this is a game, Jenga, even though you could hypothetically and completely rationally play it by yourself. You are playing against yourself. It is built into the rules that you're trying to get a certain height or whatever. See how far you can get before you eventually die, you know, in real life, obviously. Now, you could make Rubik's Cubing into a game by adding an external element like a timer and try and see how fast you can solve it, or you can even make this Magic 8 Ball as much as a game as any of the bullshit dice games by seeing how many times you can get, you may rely on it in a row. Magic 8 Ball, is this game worth buying? Okay, well, you're too kind. She just kicked the thing that is recording me. Matchstick puzzles, not a game. What a complete, unashamed scam. I'm sure some lawyer out there could, like, legally make a puzzle qualify as a game, but when you see, like, game pieces and game boards and they're bragging about the versatility of the playing pieces, naturally you're going to assume there are combinations for 100 different games, not 5 different board games and then 50 combinations of dice games, and then when they somehow run out of that, they just give you bullshit puzzles. They might as well have just put in a word search or something. This piece of shit completely defied all expectations that I had. I would not have even made this video if it was not a complete scam. Unashamedly. Like, how can anyone with any integrity, any storefront, honestly sell this? This is a lie. There are no good multi-game packs that are of any value. The only ones that are good are the ones that cost the same as each of the games individually. If you're looking to get some games in a waiting room at, like, social services or something, chess, checkers, Uno, Sorry, Monopoly, and a standard deck of cards will suit your clientele's needs for the most part. This scam is going to irritate anyone that it comes across, and you're going to look like you have poor judgment and a low opinion of them to try and convince people that, oh yeah, this is 100 games, when anyone that actually opens it and looks at it can see that it is a scam. Never buy it, never consider it, and that is actually going in the trash because it is worthless. But hey, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please be sure to tune in to the next episode. Bye.
Spiteful Productions.